What is overheating? Overheating is basically when something like a device such as the GoPro Hero 9 is over its heat level. When it's over its heat level, it basically overheats, which commonly happens for some reason when you are using the resolutions of 4K or 5K. So the first thing that you can do to prevent overheating on your GoPro, basically just simply by lowering down the frame rate. You're gonna let the frame rate go down towards 1080p, which is 1920 by 1080, also known as 16 by 9, which you can also do 9 by 16. However, that's recommended for YouTube Shorts. So I would go with 16 by 9 for 1080p. However, if you are wanting to film in 5K 30 and you are experiencing these overheating type of problems, you can try lowering it down to 4K. Another way that you can prevent overheating on your GoPro is using a GoPro compatible SD card, such as the SanDisk Extreme or the Samsung Evo. However, there are these different SD classes that you should know about if you're choosing anything else. Is that V90 manages 8K all the way from 4K. There's also 2.7K, so you can downgrade your resolution from 5K, 4K to just 2.7K. Is that class 1 is 10 megabits per second, and that's only best for standard definition and some high definition, which is up towards 720p. And then class 4 is when it's 4 megabytes. However, class number 3 is the most, that's the most common, where it's 30 megabytes per second, which includes V30. If you see on the description link down below again, you're going to see that a V30 manages 4K, 2.7K, HD, and SD. However, it can do 5K, it's just that it's going to take a longer process to flow through. And then there's the V60, which is at least a class 4, however that could be a class 6, but it's much more higher than it is. So a V60 would manage 7.5K resolution, which is just a high resolution of the 16 by 9 aspect ratio. Another way that you can prevent overheating on your GoPro is by using a cool towel, which is what they use, like a wet towel that you would usually use on your dog sometimes in the cold weather. No, not in the cold weather, in the hot weather. A fan or even just shade that's available. Just basically just trying to be able to let the GoPro be out of the out of the sun. You can just give it airflow, because if you're able to have the airflow go through or around the GoPro, then basically the GoPro, okay, this fan did not turn off, but you can let the GoPro basically just get its heat off of itself from overheating. Because when the heat just stays compacted in compact air, if you don't know, there are denser air and then there's the less dense air. The more denser it is, then the more harder it is, I think, if I'm getting this correctly. I don't really know about this, but there's something with dense and less dense. And the fourth and final way is simply just by updating your GoPro firmware. With updating your GoPro firmware, then you're basically just going to update the GoPro. However, it doesn't really guarantee, because it depends on the GoPro engineering team and how they're going to just process through the update. Because sometimes with the updates, it's actually an unresponsive screen, which is pretty far off, or either an unresponsive camera, unresponsive something like that. There's something that's unresponsive with these firmwares. However, if your firmware is 2 or 3 versions or 3 years off, you should really try updating your GoPro firmware. So as a recap in this video, in order to prevent overheating on your GoPro, try lowering down your frame rates, such as if you're filming in 5K 30, try lowering down towards 5K 24, or at least 4K 30, and so forth and so forth. The second thing is to use a GoPro compatible SD card. I'll have a link in the description down below, are things or the SD cards that I recommend and what you should know. And the third thing is by using something to process the airflow, or just something that is cold. That will definitely help the GoPro. And last and final one is to update your GoPro firmware towards its best. Now check this playlist here to learn more about the GoPro Hero 9, and check this video here to just learn more about the GoPro. Yeah, it's pretty neat. Now, Shaka. and mahalo. I'll see you on the next